Back, everybody. It's tournament time here at Sun Journal and sunjournal.com. Kalle,
yes.
Justin Pelletier, and let's break down some Class A East basketball, shall we?
Let's do that. That's what we're here for.
Well, it starts and ends for us. Well, not ends necessarily, but it certainly starts with Lewiston and Edward Little.
I was going to say,
we're epic rematch.
We're guaranteed to have it continue after that game because somebody's got to win,
Someone's
right?
Gotta win.
And they split during the season, each one on the other's home court, which is always kind of a little unique situation. You would expect it to be the other way around. Lewiston, at the end of the year, seemed to be one of the teams in the league that was playing its best, saving its best for the last part of the season, winning 6 in a row, taking Hamden right down to the wire in the KVAC championship game, and they're the only team to beat Hamden, so they've got to consider themselves one of the co-favorites. EL, even though they've been to the regional final 4 years in a row, struggling to kind of find its identity, especially on the offensive end this year. Went better early in the season than it did late, it seemed, and EL's got to kind of reinvent the wheel in the space of 9 days to really have a shot at Lewiston. Even though it was a 5-point game, it felt like Lewiston was kind of in control most of that night in Auburn a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, and the 3 at the buzzer really made it the 5-point game. Really, it was more of an 8 to 10 point margin most of that second half, save for that little bit of a rally there that Edward Little had. And one of the biggest things vexing EL this year seems to be the fact that finding a point guard to actually run the show. It's been hard. It's been kind of tossed around from player to player, but there really hasn't been anybody to kind of really step forward and run things.
Well, Ian Terrio's done a nice job, but the issue is finding a second person other than Quinn Leary to be kind of the go-to guy. Mm-hmm. Last year, Bo Leary was the go-to guy. As a senior, he was definitely 100% ready to take on that role, became a Mr. Basketball finalist. Quinn is definitely one of the top players in the league, but I think next year is when we'll see him peak, and we need that second person. Some nights it's been Omar Haji Hersey, some nights it's been Sean Ford, some nights it's been Ian Terrio, some nights it's been Nate Alexander, but finding who it's going to be on a consistent basis has been an issue, whereas Lewiston, with its depth, who are you going to guard? I mean, that's the problem. They've got 8 or 9 guys. Right now, he's got 6 guys averaging between 8 and 10 points a game, does Coach Tim Ferrer. So the Devils are one of those teams that are a nightmare for people to defend. Plus, they play all out, full court, 32 minutes, and as Mike Adams of EL says, it's hard to prepare for that.
And of course, that being the marquee matchup, so to speak, but let's not forget Mount Blue's sitting in there too, and they're the number 3 seed on the same side of the bracket.
And I think Mount Blue is kind of some people's consensus favorite to win this thing, even though they lost to Hamden twice. They lost, a couple of games during the season. You go, what were they doing there? Like Brunswick, for instance, the team that they're playing in the quarterfinals. But talent-wise, 1 through 5, I think most of the coaches in the league still feel that the Cougars might be the best team in the bracket. Of course, as we mentioned, they've got a tough matchup in the first round, a team that's already beaten them and has that confidence. And then if you go on to the semifinal, potentially a Lewiston team that they beat by 13 at Lewiston, or an Edward Little team that they pretty much handled up in Farmington until kind of EL made a late run in the fourth quarter.
One thing that Mount Blue does have that most teams in this conference don't have is that double inside presence. The big guys underneath.
No, Cam Senek is a kid who's capable of taking over this whole game and this whole tournament, really. And if it comes down to Mount Blue and Hamden again in the final, that matchup between Cam Senek and Fred Knight of Hamden, the big guy for Hamden, you gotta love that. If you're into that interior play and basketball of that nature, it's going to be a war.
And on the other side of the bracket, you get Hamden and number 9, Erskine in 1, and Lawrence and Bangor again.
Bring a pillow for that one.
They're the 4 or 5, but they're all about defense.
Yeah, 37-22 in the last regular season game, and I think the first game of the season was in the 30s and 40s.
Right.
Those are 2 teams that like to play in the half court. 2 coaches that have been there 30+ years, and that's how they get it done. And Lawrence is a team that always plays its best at this time of year. Always seems to play above its seed, and it's a 4 seed, which has got to scare some of the other coaches and other teams in the league.
Well, we'll find out this week just exactly how that's going to play out. Kalle, Justin Pelletier, Sun Media here for Tourney 12. Follow us online all tournament long at sunjournal.com/Tourney12.